Hi, everyone. For those who may not have been with us on day one of the conference, my name is Steve Grossman, and I have the privilege of serving as CEO of ICIC, the Initiative for a Competitive Inner City. As many of you know, ICIC was founded as a research organization. Earlier this week, you heard from ICIC's founder and still our board chair, Harvard Business School's Dr. Michael Porter, about the circumstances that led to his starting this organization in 1994. In the wake of the 1992 LA uprising. While we've evolved into an organization that we call a think and do tank, we engage in thought leadership through our research and practice leadership through our small business programs. Research is still very much at the core of what we do. This year, we've released two extraordinarily timely pieces of research. The first was entitled Not the Great Equalizer: Which Neighborhoods Are Most Economically Vulnerable to the Coronavirus Crisis. You can find all of our research on our website, ICIC.org. This piece of research took a look at each of the more than 70,000 census tracts in the United States and gave each a rating based on a variety of factors. How vulnerable were the jobs during coronavirus? What percentage of the residents of those census tracts are housing cost burdened, meaning that they pay more than 30% of their income for rent or for their mortgage? Third, what percentage of people have no internet access or no computer or both? Obviously, as the communities get more vulnerable, the vulnerability creates less internet access, more housing cost burdened, and more vulnerability in terms of jobs. We rated every census tract from 1 to 10. The most vulnerable, obviously, are the 8s, 9s, and 10s. Not surprisingly, those 8s, 9s, and 10s, the most vulnerable communities, have high levels of poverty, and in the case of the 9s and 10s, they're the ones that have the highest percentage of minority residents or people of color living in them. We believe deeply that small business ecosystems are the way we deal with poverty and the way we deal with creating economic viability. We know that in these neighborhoods and in these communities, if we can create sustainable small business ecosystems with businesses getting education, coaching, access to capital, they will grow, they will create jobs, they will reduce serious wellness issues, life expectancy will increase dramatically, and we know the rest, and that's the reason ICIC is in business. The second piece of research is called The New Face of Under-Resourced Communities. We took a look at the 450 cities in America which have populations of 50,000 or more and which have under-resourced communities within them. Needless to say, in those under-resourced communities, poverty is high. There is a lack of a well-developed small business ecosystem. Once again, we need jobs, we need education, we need coaching. And if we can create, as a result of the work that we do in each of these cities throughout the country, if we can create economic well-being, sustainable small business ecosystems, healthy small businesses that are creating jobs and creating wealth on the part of those citizens, we can attack poverty, conquer concentrated poverty, and ultimately close the racial wealth gap in America. These are long reports, they're exciting reports, they're important reports. The second has a policy brief that lays out a whole series of steps that mayors, nonprofits, and business leaders can take. I urge you to take a look at them and read them. Happy to answer any questions. And each one of you is living proof of how in our most vulnerable communities, small businesses are the answer to the challenges these communities face. This year, we also worked with Linda Applegate of Harvard Business School to field a healthcare survey. It's actually a health crisis survey, the results of which help inform our impact report this year. Let me summarize the key points of the health crisis survey that Linda Applegate worked with us to field this year. Number one, just over 70% of ICIC alumni and current program participants who responded to the survey indicated that the healthcare crisis has had a negative impact on their business. That's 70% said it had a meaningful impact and a negative impact on their business. Second, just over 1/4 of the businesses reported needing to close temporarily, and 70% of the businesses reported losing revenue because of the health crisis. Third, a majority of the business, 57%, reported that they needed to borrow money or finance their business since the start of the coronavirus crisis. Now, most of those businesses applied for funding through the Paycheck Protection Program. And of those that applied, most received funding, which is great news given some of the things we've heard about the Paycheck Protection Program. Just under 80% of the businesses that responded reported applying for funding through PPP, and of those that applied, 90% received funding. We are particularly proud that companies connected with ICIC that have been through one of our programs and its various opportunities to grow, develop, get education, coaching, access to capital, and figure out how to pitch successfully, achieved that level of success and were able to get the capital they needed to stay open, to survive, and to thrive. I want to thank our sponsors once again. Sponsors are what allow the national conference to take place. And I want to express our appreciation once again to Chevron, FedEx, PG&E, Edward Jones, Bank of America, and Regions. We're more grateful to each of those companies and their leaders than we can put into words. And finally, and once again, as I said in the first day, if you haven't already, please be sure to download our event app. You can find it by searching for ICCC program, that's ICCC program, in the Apple app or Google Play Store. So at this point, it's my privilege to pass the microphone to my colleague, Diego Portillo-Mazal, Director of the Intercity Capital Connections Program. Diego, the floor is yours.